All right. Good afternoon to everybody. Let's get our windows straightened out. So I don't want this right now. I do want this. It's behind. Can we turn preview? We could probably. How hard is it to see the text? It looks pretty hard. Maybe it's just because of how small. Oh, there's really no text in there. And it's partially the white back, isn't it? Actually, a lot easier on the dark. It's most of it. Off. Put this one. Just a lot. All right. Good afternoon to everybody. My name is Tim. This is the Deep Dive live stream, which is a weekly live stream where we are working on CircuitPython related stuff. If you are brand new to this or you're catching this in the future and you don't know what I am talking about, CircuitPython is an implementation of Python that runs on tiny computers called microcontrollers, such as, for instance, this one right here. This device is a PyPortal, has a nice, relatively large touchscreen there on the front, or a screen with a touch overlay, I guess. But the core idea here is this tiny computer is able to run CircuitPython, which means when you plug it into your computer, it's going to show up like a thumb drive. There will be a Python code file on there. You can edit that file in order to interact with whatever hardware is connected to the tiny computer. So in the case of the PyPortal, its sort of main feature is the screen and the touch overlay, which means your Python code can draw stuff on the screen. But there are many, many different shapes and sizes of these devices with different capabilities built in. Some of them have more, some of them have less, some of them are tiny, some of them are huge. Pretty much any kind of different form factor you could imagine. The thing that ties these all together is running CircuitPython on them. So they all kind of behave the same way with regards to being able to be coded with this Python code. If you are interested in learning more, you can go to circuitpython.org. That's the main website for the project. You can also join us on the Discord, which is linked below, adafru.it/discord. And if you happen to join us during a live stream, there's a live broadcast chat channel on the Discord, which you can join, which is the chat that is on the stream right below me. There's also some CircuitPython related channels that are active all the time, whether or not there is a stream going on. CircuitPython is an open source project. Anybody is allowed to use it. Anybody is allowed to port support for it to their own hardware. So third parties can make their own devices and add CircuitPython support to them, like this Raspberry Pi device, or Cduino, or Waveshare, or Arduino, or individuals. They can all create their own devices and add CircuitPython support for them. You don't have to pay in order to do that. The company that makes that possible is Adafruit, and this is their website, adafruit.com. They are providing the financial backing for CircuitPython by paying the folks who work on the project. There's a team of folks who work on it full-time, and there are some folks like me who work on the project part-time who they also pay in order to work on it. So thank you to Adafruit, and if you want to help support the project, one of the ways you can do that is just by heading over to adafruit.com and buying hardware from there. So thanks to everybody who does that. How's it going? Some nice over in the Discord. Quinman, what you doing? Yep, I will. What you covering? I will say just a minute what we're going to be working on. Although spoiler alert, it has to do with what's on the screen now, so you can kind of get a sense maybe. Differences between CircuitPython and MicroPython. I am not necessarily the best suited to answer it specifically, but I think in the documentation there is a section about this. Differences from MicroPython. I would suggest start with this. I'll link that. And then if you have any other questions or interests beyond that, feel free to come join us on the Discord and ask any more specific questions. If you can happen to track it down, well, it's probably really hard right now. There was an AMA on the Python subreddit, which also had a decent answer from both Scott, the lead CircuitPython developer, as well as I think either Jimmo or one of the other MicroPython developers. But I think this is not something you can see right now, unless it's archived somewhere. Arduino just released the Uno R4 Wi-Fi. Uno R4 Wi-Fi, that sounds pretty sweet. Uno R4 Wi-Fi. Oh wow, with a whole little grid of... I want to see the picture of it, please. The whole little grid of LEDs, that's pretty sweet. What does that thing run off of? R4, is that the name of the CPU, I guess? R4A, RA4M1. Huh. Oh, okay. Okay, ESP32S3, nice. There's, if this, you said they just released this, there's probably no support for this here yet, but I do think that ESP32S3, there are some devices already based on this chip that CircuitPython does support, so presumably it should be pretty straightforward to add CircuitPython support for this device as well. Looks pretty sweet. Available for pre-order, it looks like, right now. Yeah, thanks for that. I didn't know about that. That's pretty cool. All right, so what are we working on today? We are working on this outlined text, and to be more specific, we are working on taking what is currently just hard-coded stuff inside of a code file and refactoring it to make a new class that is a special type of label that will allow us to set the outline color and the outline size, and then it will draw the outline according to those values. What I have in this one here that's driving this thing is I have this function add outline, which is taking a bitmap and a target color and a outline color and a size, and then processing the bitmap in order to add the outline to it. Whoops, something saved the code, so it's going to restart here on us, but we want to pack this into a label object so that we can have, like, you know, maybe it would say like outlined label or something here, right? Like, you know, you would make it like this, and you would include a bunch of these same properties, but you would also include the outline color and the outline size. Don't dive too deep. We're going to be diving pretty deep into the code, though. No water here. I have a question regarding PyPortal. On the website, it says it has 256K of RAM, while the ESP32S2 Feather has 2 meg of PS RAM. Is it really an 8x difference? Seems a bit strange. Well, I mean, the PyPortal is very, very old at this point, right? Like, when was the PyPortal released? So it's a SAMD21, whereas the ESP32S2 is a much newer chip. So, you know, like with a lot of computers, they tend to multiply pretty quickly. I don't know off the top of my head if that's like 100%. That's 100% correct, but I mean, it sounds right to me. I'm not super big on the stats of everything, so I don't typically know the exact, like, CPU or RAM or any of that stuff. The one stat that I'm more up on for most of the devices is the amount of space that you get to save your files. I know that for more devices than I do processor speed or anything else. RAM. This doesn't say megahertz or... Yeah. I don't know for sure. 100 megs or 8 megs of flash. This one doesn't seem to say RAM. You know, that sounds reasonable to me. Sounds like it could very well be the case to me that it's 8 times, but I don't know for a fact. But I do think it's just a lot about the newer chip, honestly. Last week you mentioned libraries that were frozen in and not needed or used in the lib folder. How would you determine which libraries are frozen in? Yeah, good question. So the best way that I know of to do that is inside the core project. if you know what device you're looking for, you would go and find the folder for that device, which is going to be inside ports. And then you need to choose what port it is. So like, let's just take the Pi portal, for instance, since that's the device I have here. We would go inside atmelsamd. We would find the boards folder right here. We would go inside boards. We would find Pi portal, which might be Adafruit Pi portal, but might be just Pi portal. Yeah, okay, Pi portal right there. We go in that, and then I'm not sure which file it is. I think maybe this one. Yeah, this one right here. So mpconfig board.mk inside the device folder. That's going to have this list down here, which is going to list out all of the libraries that are frozen in for any particular device. RAM is mentioned in the primary guide, but you're right, makes sense considering the age. Okay. The other thing that I do have also is I should make a PR for the new version of display text before I jump all the way into the add outline. Let's do that. So as part of this effort to make the outlined text, I ended up with a tweak inside the core, two things. One new feature, one new functionality with the originally bitmap.blit function to add the skip self-index. So I modified the core to add this in order to use it for the outline text. But also it ultimately got refactored into Bitmap Tools, which means that the actual bitmap label, the regular one, the existing one, not the new outlined one I want to create, it also does need to be changed in order to be able to use that new version of CircuitPython when that core PR would get merged, which it's not merged yet, so it's not need to be right now, but it will need to go along with that. So we'll check out what remotes do we have. Get remote. Okay, let's rename that. Get remote. Rename origin. Probably want to be adding foamy guy. Yeah, for sure. You're welcome. Add foamy guy. Make a new branch, git checkout, -b. Let's see, this would be the blit refactor. It's from Adafruit main track. And it's really not that much to change. Have it in this. Probably just copy that and then paste it, and it should show us the difference. It's not any more of a difference. Okay, so importing Bitmap Tools. There was a lot more of this. I don't really want all of that. Let's go. Oh, I get back. Let's say rollback. We'll just change the one thing. I think it's the import, and then later on down there, it will need to use the new version. Not sure why the indentation is different. I must have run Control-Alt-L. Oh, wait, what? Oh, it's wrong. On boards that have micro SD card, like the Pi portal, does the drive that it uses use the SD card as root? Yeah, another good question. It does not. The SD card is a separate thing. you have to explicitly initialize and mount the SD card in your code, and then you are able to access files that are on the SD card. You can, I believe, I'm not 100% sure, but I think you can save Python files on the SD card and then like import or execute them. So like you can run code off of it, but it's not treated as the root. You have to explicitly initialize it and mount it, and the default code that you'll find for mounting it will mount it at /sd, so rather than like / as the root by itself. This is gonna be yeah, so the part that I changed was add this, which says if Bitmap Tools has blit, then use that. So this used to exist on the bitmap object itself. I refactored it to here in order to save room on some devices that did not fit anymore. So now this code will handle, and then since we have the if statement here, it means no matter which version of CircuitPython you run it under, it's going to work. So if you run it under like current one, it would be this. If you run it under the new one after it gets merged, it'd be this. If you run it under a super duper ancient old one that doesn't have this, then it would actually fall back and do the Python code here. I was curious about that. Yeah, for sure. Let's see. Sure, that's all we need. Import, and then the if statement. It's like the only change, I think, right? Yeah, okay. Let's make sure that's all we need by grabbing this, copy, and paste it back on the device. I'm going to close this. Always going to assume the left is the one I want to go to. So I'm going to click to that a million times if it's not. Paste this in here. That get overwritten, and make sure it still works. Which it does. Then we can go back to our display text. We can run precommit run a. It will format. Please tell me it did not just change all the same indentions that I got done undo. Oh. It did not. It did only just a little bit. It expanded that one. That's it. That's fine. Okay. Bitmap Tools.blit. Factor support. This we will go foamy guy remote. Display text. Let's say so that devices that aren't on the same versions can still both work. The library. I'm gonna create it as a draft, because it really doesn't need to be, and arguably probably shouldn't be merged until after this, which is set for 9.0.0, because it breaks the changes the API. But we'll do this. We can get this in now and get the actions worked through if there's anything it needs. Okay. Now we can make a new branch and start our outlined label. So let's go git checkout new branch outlined label from So do I want to, I mean, ordinarily we would go from main. I think I actually want to start it from. I think I want to start it from Blit refactor though, because we're gonna want the version of this that's modified because it's using the new code which is on my device, and we want to use the new code because it has the new functionality that allowed this to work. So yeah, let's, I guess it will just go from the branch we're on. I don't know how that, I'm not sure if that's how that works. Let me just go new branch from here. Branch name will be outlines label. Now, do we need to copy paste bitmap label or could we extend it? So inside bitmap label, it's extending label base. I think if we, if we I mean, we could basically, at the end of this function, we could pretty much kind of like call our add outline thing here. And that should give us the outlined text. Can I override this and then call the parent version, but then add something else to it? That it did fail. What did docs me? Did I run precommit? I guess I don't think I ran. I did. That's gonna be, yeah, it is the docs, and because that's a core module, that needs to use the mock. Needs to use this. This one I don't think needs to be here though. This is a library. It should install that, but that's neither here nor there. Bitmap Tools, cd docs, cp docs. Oh, but now I'm on a new branch. Extra space. Back to outline label. I'll merge from this just so we get the latest stuff. Okay, Python. Let's rerun. Python override method and call super. What are these called? Super. Dot show. Okay. So I think we want to override bitmap label, override place text, call super.placeText, and then add our outline, and then return the result that we got from super placeText. And I think like everything else pretty much should be basically the same as bitmap label. We'll add like properties for the color and the size of the outline, but I think everything else should not need to be different. So let's copy. How does this one work? This extends label. I'm just gonna make a new one. Back to outlined label, Let's fix this. Whoops. Just try to tab to the next field in the text file. This is outlined label. Why that slowed down on me displays. So this is a subclass of bitmap label that adds outline, color, and stroke size. Functionalities. Version. Don't really need time, I don't think. We do want bitmap label. And then we're gonna make our class outlined label. Extend that. We want init, def init. We want to, I guess we're gonna have like, how does args? We need to do args also. So we would eventually, we'd be at, well, I say eventually, we could add it now. So let's go outline color. Should we default it to a color or should we default it to none? I don't see much sense in defaulting it to none. What color does the label default to? In label base. White. Let's default to gray. That way, whether they have white text or black text, it'll still be visible. I don't know if that's best logic in the world, but go with it for now. So maybe like 9s. Outline size equals, we'll just say 1 is the default. We're gonna call super init. We are gonna also get quargs. Pass quargs up. Okay, we're gonna override underscore place text. Whoa. Okay, put all that stuff in, that's cool. We are gonna first call super dot place text, and we're gonna just pass through all the same stuff. Are they only this one has a default, so I think they're not, they're just order based or whatever, right? We can just say bitmap and then text and then font and then X, pause, Y pause, skip index. And yeah, we could, I guess, pass outline stuff here, but I mean, I don't know that we need to necessarily, because we're gonna have self and we can just look it up off of self inside of, well, inside of this function, which is here. So yeah, actually, no, yeah, we would never be passing it up to the parent function. Actually, that makes no sense. So I don't know what I'm talking about there. Let's get our imports working here. What's wrong with this? So I think font protocol, I guess, I don't know, is that font.io? Is it terminal? What that's from? Where'd that come from? Oh, okay. Only for types, the font protocol. Font type. And then I guess we'll say, I mean, bitmap, I mean, let's try, like, I don't know, we might need it, like actually need it for something other than types, but I'm not sure. You already know what the outline label looks like. What it looks like will look like as you're developing it. I mean, if you mean visually what it looks like on the display, I do. Like, it will look like this effectively. I mean, you'll be able to change the color and the size of the outline. But it will look like that visually. If you mean the code, I don't have necessarily a clear picture of how that works. I'm just kind of flying by the seat of my pants, so to speak, just kind of trying to work it out as we go. I mean, ultimately, I would say what I'm aiming for on the code side is as little code as possible in the outlined label class, and instead, hopefully, we're relying the majority on our parent class, the bitmap label, and just adding a little tiny bit of extra functionality at the end of when it renders its bitmap. And then if you meant something else, then feel free to clarify if neither of those was what you were talking about. I don't know why skip index. Why is this? Unexpected argument? Did it, why do we have, not sure enough, I don't know. Oh no, it's there. Oh, that one, that's the one that is by name. Okay, okay. So we need skip index equals. Yeah, it still doesn't like it. I guess probably I have a different version of display text installed in my Python environment that's not this version, and I guess maybe that didn't exist yet or something. I'm not sure why it's not recognizing that, but that's fine. We'll just go on. It's mad because we haven't returned this. Let's get parent result, and at the end of this, we're going to return that. Return parent. To make it work on images or bitmaps. So yeah, I think the way that I'm going to implement it right now is on the label class, but the next level of this is going to be to try to add it to Bitmap Tools inside the core, make a new function on Bitmap Tools called maybe dilate, because I think that's what this process is called. And that one that's in the core, it will work on any arbitrary bitmap. Like a single colored shape inside of any arbitrary bitmap. It won't have to be text. So my immediate first goal is the outlined label to make it specific for that, but I definitely do have in mind trying to generalize it one step further and also move it into the core, which should speed it up some as well. And when that second step happens, it would then be able to be used arbitrarily on any kind of bitmap, essentially. I was referring to the visual aspect, but I appreciate learning a bit more about the development process too. Thanks. Yeah, for sure. Thanks for the question. Yeah, and that's the thing too. Visually, like it's very it's very much up to the font. Like whatever font is there will have a huge impact on how it ends up looking. We could change a few other things about the visual. Like right now, I am doing, I don't know if there's a technical name for it, but I'm doing, I guess, a square dilation. You could do a rounded, like a circle dilation instead, and it would make some of the corners look more rounded. So like the top of the H here, for instance, right now it's like a square cut 90 for both the foreground, which is the white, and the background, the outline, which is the black. It's a square 90. If you use a circle for your dilation instead of a square, then you could end up with a rounded corner for the black up there, which might be a nice effect. So like that may be something we do eventually as a way to kind of give it a little bit of a different twist visually. But that's definitely a relatively minor thing, grand scheme of things, because it will only really affect those corners, those hard cut corners. Everything else would end up kind of looking the same. Okay, so we want to here, I think we're gonna just call a function that's called add self.add outline. We could make it, and yeah, I mean, it's kind of the same deal. We don't really need to pass anything to it because everything is gonna be on self anyway, so I mean, like, we could pass arguments, but it's not going to change anything. You know, one thing we will need to do is probably set up more colors. Where does our palette get created? Where is this? Reset text? Where does it come from the first time? Set background color. No, but that's just setting items. Who creates this? Maybe it's the parent. Oh, that's gonna make it a little tougher, isn't it? Self-dub. Oh, there it is. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we're gonna need a new palette as well because we need to add a third color for our outline because you're gonna be allowed to have foreground, background, and outline. So technically you'll be able to have the foreground like the white text, the background like the black rectangle here, but then you'll also be able to have the outline. So you could say have like a red outline, for instance, and you could have the black rectangle with the red outline around the text too. You can take the background out if you want, like you'll have your choice of how to do it, but we need 3 colors if we want to be able to support all of those, which means we need to change this palette to have 3 colors, but you can't, I don't think, like change palette to have more. So what we'll do is we'll say foreground color is equal to self.palette I think 0 goes to the foreground. That was over here where we set that. Set background. Oh, okay. 0 is actually the background color. But that makes it seem like, at least. So we'll say foreground is 1, duplicate background. That'll be 0. So we'll save those two into their own variables, and then we're going to go self.palette is equal to a new palette. But we'll have 3 colors instead of 2. And we'll technically also be throwing away the old palette here. And so then we're going to turn around and go 0 equals background 1 equals foreground, and 2 will be the outline color. Okay, so now we have 3 colors in our palette, and we have the outline color too. Got our parent result, we add the outline to it, we return the parent result. So yeah, aside from the fact that this doesn't exist, and therefore obviously this won't do anything, and this looks good, I'm going to make sure by just creating this, add outline, and I'm just going to put pass inside of it, and then I'm pretty sure we should be able to create one of these objects and put it on the display. It won't have the actual outline in it yet, it will just be a copy effectively of bitmap label at this point. But this will tell us if I have completely broken the application at all. Should just copy all this. Really only need to dispose. So bitmap labels are fine. We want to make sure that outlined label is working. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this bottom one here from being a bitmap label to being a outlined label. And like I just said, it's not actually going to have an outline yet, but it's going to tell me if I've already broken something or not. What is it? It's rectangle text area, this one. So would change our import outlined label. I mean to put this. Oh, did I not call it label? I called it outlined label. What do I do for scrolling label? Okay. I think we will call it out. I think I'll keep it as called outlined label since it does a different thing. So bitmap label and label both contain a class that is simply called label. But that is because they are essentially meant to have the same API. They're kind of meant to be like drop-in replaceable. Outlined label and scrolling label have different functionality, so I think it stands to reason it would have a different name, which means we'll need to do this too. But other than that, it should just work. Everything else should kind of follow through from being a bitmap label, hopefully. Attribute error dict has no get glyph. Definitely broken something. Outline label 41, which is just where we call super. Oh, I'm pretty sure I need to do more like this, right? Yeah, sure. Oh, maybe font actually as well. Probably, right? I have a font though. Can we get that from parent? It's because it's not a kwarg though. It's a position based one. So I guess maybe we can't do that. Maybe that should work. Skip index. And we changed the error at least. Add outline. Okay, at 51. That, oh no, it's still. Oh no, code pi 51. Okay. What's the create? Still 41 here. Still structure. You basically get all the way into reset text. Reset text is going to call place text, which is going to call outlined label place text, which is then going to call super and back into bitmap label place text, but it's failing. 66. Got multiple values for skip index. So, like here, it just doesn't pass it. Set to none to write all pixels. Otherwise, skip this palette index when copying glyph bitmaps. Imported for slanted text where rectangular glyph boxes overlap. Why would we have multiple values? I don't really get why we would have multiple values. Oh, when in doubt, print it out. You know what they say? I don't know if they say that, but they should. Zero. Zero looks like one value to me. Let's look at 209 reset text. Here is where we're calling place text. We call place text, we pass bitmap, we pass text, or possibly reversed, pass font, padding left, padding right. Well, minus some stuff, plus some stuff. 2, 3, 4, 5. Out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Does it get used in here? Is this actually used? It's past a blit. So yes. Why does it think there are multiples? Okay, here's what we're gonna do. Go back to 209. Right before we call place text, I mean, I can't print out skip index though because I don't have skip index here. But it would default to 0 here. But we would call I don't think we need that effect. It's inside place text. I'm glad I did this before we had any of our actual outline functionality, because if I was trying to troubleshoot this while also trying to troubleshoot like radiuses and bitmap manipulations and blitting and all that stuff, like we just have so many things wires crossed. Okay, I wasn't scrolled down. It was like, that's a surprising output. Okay, so inside bitmap label place text. Huh. I actually am a little surprised by the order of that, right? Shouldn't those be in the other order? 09 is here. About to call place. Where are we at here? We're inside reset text. Inside about to call place text. The way I thought this worked is when this calls place text, I would be expecting it to call outlined label place text, since that's what our object actually is. In the case of our code over there. This does get tricky because I have the other labels actually still on display. Let me turn those off so we're only looking at printouts from the one new one. A bunch of stuff for that probably. There. Okay. We're back to the same thing. We only should have only printouts from our one. So we're inside label replace reset text. We're about to call place text. Okay, yeah. Now we're inside outlined label place text. We had skip index of 0 because it was not passed and the default value is 0. This got printed from here. Then we tried to call parent place text. Is it not supposed to be this? I don't. It's still orange like that too. Seven positional arguments, but 8 were given, so not supposed to be positional. Yeah, I'm a little stumped on that. Why? Why though? Bilello. That. With Bilello. That'll do it. You. Okay. That is bizarre. I don't like that. I don't think this doesn't tell you what's wrong. Like I don't understand how. I mean it obviously it does tell you what's wrong, so there's just it works in a way that I don't understand, but it would be nice if that error message was like somehow related more so to self and first argument rather than the last argument. I guess like everything shifted, so okay, so everything shifted, which means that it was treating y position as skip index, and then it was treating skip index as skip index. Okay, but it would also be nice if maybe that could like check for self, right? If that's the common way that that happens, maybe just check for that and make the error message say something about it. That'd be pretty helpful. Okay, we made it though. Thank you, Stack Overflow Hug Report, for sure. I didn't see the username, but thanks to that person. We do have our box now, so we should be good. Add outline. Let's just make sure, one more thing real quick. Let's make sure our add outline is actually like doing something. Doesn't matter what it's doing just yet, but let's make sure it's doing something. For now, let's just draw a line inside of the bitmap. So bitmap tools dot draw a line. Bitmap is self dot bitmap, and then x1 y1. Let's go 0 0. I don't know how tall it is for sure. I guess maybe let's just say like 50 and value. So let's do 2 because that should be our red. Oh, you know what I just realized? We're gonna have the same problem that we had with our palette, but with our bitmap. Yeah, that's probably going to be the case because score bitmap is going to get created from the length of palette. It's going to be 2 when that happens. Oh, but this is inside reset text actually, so I kind of had assumed that would happen inside of a knit, but I was wrong. Okay, it gets set to none here. It might actually just work actually. Okay. Red line? Nope, out of range. Is 10 too much? 10 is too much. $50, I guess. You should make the outline. Oh, I would try and see. I would try and see. Sure what you mean. Range of target still. Do we not have? We don't have the bitmap? Out of range of target. What's the size of? Width of 289, height of 37. Oh, value, well, out of range. Yeah, I think it's telling me this one. Yeah. Okay, and there's our line right there as well. So we can't paint our outline color. So reset text gets called from init of bitmap label, and at that time, when that happens, there is only 2 colors in the palette, because this happens inside of here. Both of those things happen. It creates the palette with 2, it calls reset text. Therefore, our bitmap gets created with 2. We then create a palette with 3 out here, but our bitmap still has 2. And reset text does not get called from place text, I guess. Okay, what if we just do inside outline label? What if we go here and do it again? So let's just say self dot copy whatever it says. Okay, so no change, but can we use red now? I think hopefully we should be able to. From here. Well. Oh, you know what? I'm saying red, but like, is it actually red? Did I ever even set it up? Of range of target. Hmm. Create a new bitmap unless it can be reused. So it probably thinks it can be reused since it's only checking the size here. Well, it's checking none, but it won't be none. And the size will be the same, so it thinks it's reusable, therefore it just does this. So calling reset text at the end of here does not actually help us. Well, box, this is all like let's calculate so much stuff up here. bitmap is none. So what if we do this? Can make it none in our case. Out of range of target. Yeah, it would not be red, it would be this color because we didn't add anything contrary here. Okay, we're gonna, I mean, it has to be the color, so. What if we go self.bitmap? We just set 1 pixel. Did we get the exact same error? No, but yeah, pretty much. So it's like our bitmap still has the wrong number colors. Print creating bitmap with this many colors. Length of self palette. Okay, how many do we get? Creating bitmap with 2 colors. Never did it again, so that did not work. Bitmap label reset about to call place text. Wait, we never got the new one. Outline label 41. Oh. Calling init of bitmap label. So bitmap label init 113 is going to be set text. Set text 211. Place text. Place text goes inside outlined label. At outline 61. Okay, we have not really a race condition, but kinda, because this whole chain of events is happening because of or inside of this init call here. This is causing everything to happen, including reset text, place text, and all that, which is causing us to add outline, which is causing us to try to do this. But all this is happening from inside of here. All this is happening because of that call at the end of init, which means we haven't even finished init of bitmap label yet, which means we haven't made our new palette. set our bitmap to none. We just haven't done any of that stuff yet. We're basically still in here. That is tricky. Uh, I don't like it. It's probably not the actual ultimate solution. But if we just ignore that, will the rest of this work? If we fail to add the outline, then don't bother. Oh, okay, okay. It's, yeah, I guess I do have it. Let me actually do make it red. Okay, I think the red pixel is there. I'm gonna switch it back to the line because that'll be much easier to see than the single pixel. Yeah. Okay. Now we're good. Yeah. I don't know if we have a different way to do that though, honestly, because I mean, I should say I can think of a different way to do it, but it involves essentially copy pasting a lot more of bitmap label. Because, like, we could copy paste a lot more of bitmap label, and then we could change a init, and then, like, the rest of it can follow suit, and we can tweak anything we need. But it would be ideal if we can avoid copying, like, the entire bitmap label class, essentially. If we can override it instead, that's so much nicer. And if we override it, we need to hook into place text, I'm pretty sure. And if we need to hook into place text and we need to call our add outline, this is always gonna want to fail the first time it gets called because it's actually going to be from the init of the parent class rather than our class. So we haven't set up any of our special stuff yet. And we can't do it this way because all these things rely on stuff that got done inside of here. So we have to do this first. You kind of have this chicken egg thing where this is going to call this, which is going to call this, which is going to try to do stuff with the special outlined color index, but that's going to fail if it's all the way here. I mean, I guess we could, instead of try catch, I guess we could like literally like flip a boolean for first call or something like that, but that doesn't seem great either. Well, we'll keep kicking it around the old brain. We'll see if See if anything better than that comes to mind at any point. But the good news is we have our label showing. We are calling our add outline. It's actually being able to add some red pixels, so we're like most of the way there. We pretty much just need to grab this code, put it inside of here. Well, truthfully, we need... Oh yeah, let me keep all that stuff for now. So add outline. Okay, so... Yeah, no, we don't need to pass any of that stuff, I don't think. We don't need to pass any of that stuff. Here in a minute. I don't know. We don't need the... I don't think we need the time right now. Oh, right. Okay, so stamp source, that is our square. I was explaining that square and circle dilation. This is effectively choosing whether we're going to get those rounded corners or not. And in our case, it's a square, so we're not. And change to be here because we need to create one. Although we should not really be creating it every time we call add outline, because that's going to be every time we change the text. Truthfully, we should create our stamp source inside of a init. And I'm going to put it on self. It's going to be a bitmap. The size is going to be the outline size. The color. How did I do that? Outline color index? +1. Oh, right, because it needs to be big enough. It needs to have enough indexes for us to set the index we want. So in our case, I think so outline color index is always 2. So this could just always be 3. And that should work. As long as this doesn't change, then this should work. Outline color index, but it would be 2, not 3 there, because it's not +1 like that one was. Okay. So now we have our stamp source. We create it inside of a init, so we can use it later on without having to create it again. So now that's gone, which is nice. We won't be creating that bitmap every single time we change the text. Bitmap.height. So that's going to be self bitmap and self bitmap. And you guessed it. Self bitmap target color index. Now that's going to be that's going to be the foreground color. But it's going to be the index of the foreground color, which is 1. Okay, Bitmap Tools Blitz self size. That is outline size. We should save that on self. I don't think we did that yet. We'll make a property later as well with a setter, so this can be set and get. We should save the outline color as well. We might as well. We're already setting it onto here, I guess, but yeah, actually, we're already setting it onto here. We don't need to save it. We're gonna be using the index anyway. Okay, but size, this would be... Yeah, this would be outline size. Yeah. Target color index. So that is our foreground color, which is 1. I'm gonna skip anything else? No, I don't think so. Stamp source. Oh, self dot? Wait, who tried to use stamp source? Outline label has no stamp source. 85. What? Oh, I did it underscore. I think I did it underscore. Has no stamp source either. What did I call it? Did I not? Okay, we have the same chicken and egg problem again because we're inside of this one, which means we haven't set that up yet. And so maybe that's what we key off of. That's what we key off of. If self.stamp source, then we do all this stuff. This should filter out not only the first one, but any one that happens to ever happen before we have this. I do like this a bit better than the try-catch. Works. Which it does not, so. So, not allowed to check if we have it. Really? So it's like has adder at that point? I thought it would be none if we didn't have it. It doesn't get to be none? Alright, well, in that case we are just gonna go back to try catching. And we're gonna catch the value error, which will come from not being able to use the correct color yet. Oops. Okay. And we are also going to catch the attribute error we now know comes from having a stamp source yet. Attribute error? Why is this all red? Oh, wrong indentation. The outline still black instead of red? Outline might be black instead of red. Let's take off the background color. Or set it to none. So is this code adding the black box? Am I missing something? No, okay, that's not adding. So what is adding the black box? Color, color, background color. Wait, I'm kinds of trouble. So does background default to black or none? Defaults to none. Hmm. Color is none. It's because we made a new palette. Is there a get transparent? I don't think there is. It's not the doc. Is transparent. There is. Nice. Okay, so we will say back into outline label. Before we throw away our old palette, we also want to say background is transparent equals palette dot is transparent index of 0. How's it going, DJ Devin? Good evening. So if that will be true or false, that's going to get stored in here, and then after that we'll say if background is transparent, then self.palette make transparent 0. Okay. Have no more black box. Ow. We get no red either, so... Ooh, that's turned back on, actually. Guess we're always getting these exceptions. I have to assume we're always getting these exceptions. Back was not a list. Isn't there a better way to do that? That it will just print correctly? Did print trace? Print exception. So we got one that we did not have a stamp source, and then we got another one that we did not have a stamp source. So I thought that no, see, because now we call reset text here. So let's put these before that. Nice. Okay. Now we get red. And we can change the color now here inside of our constructor. Green, let's say. Although green's gonna blend in with the Raspberry Pis. That wasn't a great choice. You can still see it pretty well. Yeah. Okay. Let's make sure if we change the text that it like works. Nice. Now, one thing that might break it is changing the text color. Oh, that was fine. Okay. What about changing the background color? So what if we did bring back our background color? Ooh. And then let's also change the background color here. Did I do that before the sleep? No. It's interesting that it refreshes before it changes the text. Like, we get to see these two things happen before this one, pretty fairly significantly timed. One thing we may still need to be doing is the padding. I think he did not offer all this padding. We might actually not have a outline that works correctly. Just like a real outline or stroke or customizable. This is like a real outline or stroke and customizable. Awesome. Yes. Yep. Actually not terrible. So one thing is down here, we don't have the green, it looks like. And I guess maybe like 1 pixel on the left. I'm not sure about the left, but maybe 1 pixel on the left is cut off. Definitely the bottom of the P though. I think we need to like intentionally make the padding bigger a little bit. Like, we need our padding to be, our default padding should be based on the outline size. Should be like the outline size plus something, plus some static constant. And padding bottom of 1 is actually not quite big enough yet, because we still either have 1 or 0 pixels of green down there. I'm not sure, but it's definitely not 2, which is what our outline should be. Maybe that could be 2. There you go. We could find out. We could definitely be counting pixels if we do that. I will say, like, if it was quicker to get it from the SD card into the computer, I hope that one day we will have pass-through SD card to where the PyPortal can be plugged into the computer, and then on the computer we can see the files on the SD card. Have a blue pixel down there? I think so. So actually, still one. I guess we don't need to have one. Do we want to have one extra? It's arguable. I don't know the super strong preference, I guess. There we go. Now there's actually blue. It's so random though. 1 on the top, 4 on the bottom, 2 on the left, 2 on the right. And we could probably get away with 1 on the right, couldn't we? Or to put it another way, I'm pretty sure the right had 2 pixels of space and the left had 1. So we could have also put the left on 2 instead of putting the right on 1, but maybe get down from the top. I mean. And yeah, it hit some kind of snag of some sort. I don't recall, or I don't think I ever really knew what the details were. I do remember when Dan was working on it, and I think I recall an update on the, maybe an update 1 week on the meeting or something that was about whatever problem ultimately came up. Something with USB, maybe tiny USB, something needs updated in there or something to support it. I'm not sure. But yeah, that would be super duper sweet if we could do that for screenshots. Okay, let's make a color so that we can change, let's make a property so that we can change the outline color. We do need to, no, we don't need to save it actually. We could get it from palette. Know for sure if that's actually going to work. Let's change it to red. Nice. So really the only thing left is, I think, the size. Actually, let's change it to 1 here, I guess. So we can't really go bigger just yet because the paddings don't get adjusted. Actually, I don't know. The paddings, is padding a prop? Are there individual properties for the paddings? Or are those only set from the constructor? Those are only set from the constructor right now. Might actually need to be able to get those because I think we need to check the current padding and see if it's big enough, and then if it's not, make it bigger. I will be right back though. Or anything about USB host device you've been working on lately? Possibly use something like that instead of hosting externally? Yeah, that's a good question. I do not know. I know the only thing I know about the host device stuff is it would allow you to plug in a keyboard, I'm pretty sure. But that's really the only thing I know about it. I have not actually caught show and tell. I watched yesterday's show and tell, but I have not caught the last couple before that. I think it's been shown off a couple of times, but I'm not sure the details. Okay. So we're going to have a problem if we try to make the outline size too big because we're going to need to increase the size of the padding as a result of making the outline size too big, quote unquote. which is actually ultimately, it's going to kind of have a cascade. It's going to have to end up making a new bitmap as well, which is not super efficient. So yeah, the recommendation would be probably don't necessarily change the outline size dynamically unless you really have to, but I suppose we could just not provide the property for it. It does look like it worked anyway, though. That still looks like 2 to me. Oh, but you know what? It's not gonna call reset text or whatever, right? No, I think we need to call reset text. After we change the outline size so that it will get re-rendered. Don't have font. Does that get stored somewhere? Self.font probably. The parent underscore. On boards where I have an SD card, the only thing I use it for is music and screenshots. What does padding do? Is that for within the rect? Yep. Extra size inside of the background of the label. That looks like we went down to 1 on the left and the top, but not the right and the bottom. Seems kind of... Huh. Oh, you know why? That would be because whenever we change the outline size, we actually need to also recreate the stamp source. Oh, and that is now. There we go. Okay, now our red is actually 1. And we could theoretically, I think, set it to anything, but if we go bigger than 2, we're going to start cutting off the outline by the edge of the rectangle. Like on the right edge, it feels cramped a little bit. On the bottom, it no longer has its blue line, but I think the outline is all there, which is nice. The left looks like it doesn't have its blue line either. Top is now down to 1. Okay. Well, we've made it pretty darn far. I think what I'm gonna do for now is copy this stuff back into display text repo. Right. And now a bunch of this is gonna have new print statements, which I have added a lot of. Why is it in here if they're identical? Makes sense. I don't really use that very much, but okay. We can get rid of all these prints now. Now contents are identical if I So again, it should. Well, that's probably why. Oh, why being treated as a difference though? This is a whole. This does have a lot of print statements in it as well. There used to be a thing called compare with current or something to that effect, and it's not here anymore. I don't know how to do it. Like, I think there used to be one called compare with current revision. And it would compare the code that you have in the file against the code that is currently committed in the branch. So it would effectively give you your diff of whatever you've changed since your last commit. It's also what this is, but I'm kind of weirded out by this contents are identical. Like, why is it treating it as a change if the contents are identical? I guess we're just gonna have to live with it though. I'm gonna turn off the prints, I think. Let's get rid of this. We could also delete this now. Yeah, I mean, I guess we could go back to passing on those. Why is it going back there? Okay, only 2 that are left are commented out. We'll probably remove. Eventually, we could also get rid of some of this code as well, but I'm going to keep it for now because it's kind of in the mix with the core PR. So outline label, commit. That's probably enough. Oh yeah. The line's too long. Valid names, unused variables, does not like my commented out print statements. That's alright. I'm gonna go ahead and push it for now, even though it's gonna fail the pre-commit check. Aligned. Alright, so that'll fail, but that's fine. Okay, I think I'm gonna wrap it up there for the evening. So we created, I don't know if I ever did look back on this one again. Yeah, there we go. Okay, we did pass the second time, so that's nice. And then I don't think we want to create this one yet, especially since it's not going to pass actions. I think it will definitely fail with all that same stuff we just saw. So it's nice to have it pushed in up into GitHub and just like saved somewhere other than my computer, but it's not quite ready for the PR just yet. So I think I'll cut it off there. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. Thanks for all the good questions. We had a lot of great questions tonight. I'm always happy to answer questions about, I mean, pretty much anything CircuitPython related, whether it's what I'm working on or not. So yeah, feel free to come back on Friday afternoons if you have questions, and I will certainly attempt to answer them to the best of my ability. Thank you to everybody for hanging out. I will be back in the morning tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Central Time over on my own channels. I will post the links in the live broadcast chat, just like I do every week. So if you want to watch more CircuitPython programming content like this, you can find that tomorrow morning. And if you would like to do so, then I will see you then. I hope that everybody has a good rest of your evening and a good weekend and all that kind of stuff. And otherwise, I'll catch you next time, whenever it may be. Let me see the chat here. Nice feature to have. I've been cheating using the 4. Yep, I saw yours with the kind of offset 4. Would have such a huge performance hit on the S2 or S3. Stopped using it. This will hopefully be more efficient. It should be. Yeah, I think it should be for sure, because it will, at the very least, it's no longer using multiple copies of the whole bitmap. So yeah, it should take up less RAM for sure, I would think. So, yep, thanks again, everybody, and I will see you later.